Okay, hello. We are here today to do our very last of the four Earth systems. Now, hopefully, by now, what you can see is that let's take a look at this, what's happening here. So we've had rain that has come down and it has made some of this dirt run off and come down here and flood, and that is causing some damage to the plants. That's affecting the biosphere, isn't it? So that shows the atmosphere, right, of impacting the biosphere, right? And if there's little plant animals or something here, this is going to have some kind of problem. They're going to have to leave. What if there's like little mice that have their houses right here next to the shoreline and their houses get flooded? Or what if there's beavers that are living down here and their homes get washed away and their babies are killed? Well, that, right, you could see that that could definitely be that the atmosphere is impacting the biosphere. Okay, and then here in our landslide, we can see that the weather, this is the atmosphere again, has caused this giant problem here with this landslide. And what would happen if this person here that's driving this car drives into that? Oh, well, now we have the biosphere is being impacted by the geosphere and the hydrosphere. Well, but really, it's those things were only there because of the atmosphere. So really, boys and girls, I want you to see that it's all four of these Earth systems are laying together. In our diagram, we can even see that. Okay, already. Now, let's get into this next thing here. This is our atmosphere. Our atmosphere. Now, for that, I really need the color red. Red. I want red. 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 Let's see. Am I going to write in red? Red. A. Is my color there? Of course it isn't. Let's try it again. Red. Red. Save. Well, maybe I'm going to have to try and do what I did the last time, you guys, and switch it to the color I want after I type it. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it right now, but I'd really like it to be red, the atmosphere to be red. Although it doesn't have to be. It could be a different color. Maybe I'll just go to gray or something that's there. I'm just stubborn about it all. Okay, so the atmosphere. Now, the atmosphere refers to all the air around the Earth. Okay, now what is air? Air are gases. Okay, now atmosphere has a word part in the front, atmo. That means air. Okay, now I know normally we have a biologist, we have a hydrologist, and we have a geologist. We don't have an atmologist. We call a scientist who studies air an airologist. That's the rule breaker right there, you guys. Okay, there's nothing called an atmologist, a scientist who studies the atmosphere. Okay, so maybe that person would study climate change or the weather patterns that are happening around, or what's happening pollution in there. That could be a very interesting job. I think I really don't think that any of these jobs are not interesting. A biologist, a geologist, I think all those could be very interesting jobs, something to think about. Okay, you could make a lot of good money doing that and do something that you love and be outside doing those things. Okay, now I'm going to put my next notes over here where I have some space. Okay, so I'm going to move that guy up a little bit. I'm going to put my next notes over here. Okay, so what's the whole purpose of the atmosphere? Well, it does a few things. Okay, I know the first thing you're going to think about is weather. All right, weather. All weather happens here. I'm going to put a little asterisk here. Weather happens inside the atmosphere. You don't have weather that happens inside of the ocean. You don't have weather that happens down under the ground. All the weather happens in the sky, in the air around us, okay? All the weather happens there. If it wasn't for the atmosphere, you wouldn't have weather, which means you wouldn't have rain, you wouldn't have, right? Do you see that? That would be a big problem. And if you don't have rain, plants wouldn't grow, rivers wouldn't fill, we wouldn't have wells that form, we wouldn't be able to get water to drink. That would be a big problem. You have to have an atmosphere. We also need our atmosphere it protects us from the, don't know why that did that. Okay, I'm just gonna leave that over there. And suddenly my color is brown again, but that's okay. I'm gonna switch it all to a different color anyway. It protects us from the sun's rays. I'm gonna move that guy. From the sun's UV rays. You've heard of that before, maybe when you think about like sunscreen and SPF factors. UV rays cause sunburn. It also contributes to skin cancer, ladies and gentlemen. Skin cancer, UV. Sunglasses are used to protect you from UV rays even more. So, but if it wasn't for our atmosphere, the sun would come down onto the earth and it would just scorch us. Like, think of what the surface of Mars looks like, where they don't have the kind of atmosphere that we have on Earth. It protects us from that, but at the same time, it lets in heat and energy from the sun. You know, it's just enough. The atmosphere is just perfect. It's just perfect here on Earth to allow just the right amount of sunlight to come in that lets plants grow, lets the water evaporate. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't get this water vapor happening, so that new water vapor going up into the clouds, forming clouds, making it rain. That whole water cycle happens because of the sun and the amount of energy that comes down into the atmosphere. But none of that would be possible if it wasn't for the atmosphere. The atmosphere is very, very important. Okay, now let me highlight over this and pick a color over here that I want. I'm gonna go with gray. What does gray look like? I guess it's okay. All right, next I'm gonna change that one to gray. I mean, if you can figure out how to get red over there, that would be even better. I think it would stand out better. Okay. But I'm struggling right now. My color, it didn't, oh, there, it finally went. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, now I'm gonna go to my palette. I'm switching it to red. All right, red. Okay, now we're gonna look for things that I see over here. Now, obviously I've got the air, okay? Now, what's in the air? That's a super good question. Well, I know, yeah, oxygen. That's a good one. But how much of the air is oxygen? Not a lot, actually. Only 21%. So that's less than half. That's actually less than 1/4 of the air is oxygen. Does anybody know anything else that's in the air then? That means that most of the air is not oxygen. Something else that's in it is nitrogen. 78%. So that is, by and large, the majority of air is nitrogen. Nitrogen's important. Whenever you have nitrogen brought down by the rain, so it goes into the rain, and that chemical goes into the rain, and then it's like something that you normally find in fertilizers, nitrogen. It makes our plants grow so well, nitrogen. It's good for our plants. And we really need plants on this earth. Okay, plants are very, very important. Okay, next. What else? Well, there's a little bit of it is argon. And then an even smaller amount, this is a decimal, is carbon dioxide. That's the amount that what we breathe out. Maybe you've heard that before. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. But the good news is, and that just jumps us right into trees and plants, okay? Plants and trees, all of them breathe in carbon dioxide. And breathe out, so to speak. They really are exchanging it. They're not really breathing out or breathing in. They don't have lungs. Oxygen. So there's a transfer of in trees and plants. Okay, and that's really, really important. Okay, and one of the reasons that we shouldn't probably chop down all of our trees. That would be really bad. Okay. Let's see now. Let's go back to this volcanic cloud here that we have. So we already talked about ashes that are in there, but we also have volcanic gases that are in there. Excuse me, volcanic gases that are in there, and these things are quite poisonous at times. Okay. Another reason you wouldn't want to breathe that in. So not only would you be putting ash all in your lungs, which isn't good for you, you'd be breathing in gases, which some of those would be poisonous. Okay, that would be bad. All right, let's see now. What else do we see over here? Oh, we see this factory. Okay, these are factory emissions. A smoke, from the factory. That's called emissions. And we're getting better in today's time with that stuff not being too polluting. But that stuff can be very polluting. All that smoke would come from here and then go up into the air up here. And then this is wind. That's moving air, boys and girls, moving air. And that wind would blow all whatever's in that smoke, whatever poisons are in that. So if they're burning plastics down in there, then that's burning plastic. That's a poison that's in the air now, and that's blowing all over the earth. Okay, definitely not good for the environment. And then it's going to come drifting down in the rain later and poison the plants. Okay, not good, not good, not good. And then we also have here the chimney has some smoke coming out of it. Let's see, this is going to get really crowdedy around here. We got this smoke that's going up too. Oh, and see, there's some exhaust coming out of the car here. Exhaust coming out of the car. Yep, I see that. Exhaust. Okay, and all that stuff's going into the air. Yep, and if you have too much of that stuff, then that can definitely cause pollution, air pollution. That's why sometimes when you go into crowded cities, all you see is like fog. It looks like fog in the city, but it's not. It's smog in the city. Now, this city doesn't have many factories. It doesn't have lots of people in it either. So there's not too much. Okay, and that's really all. All right, but hopefully you can see here that in all that we've done, our world is filled with atmosphere, geosphere, hydrosphere, and biosphere. And all four of these things interact. And we're going to continue to study how they interact as our unit continues. This has just been the beginning of it. Okay? But very, very good. I want you to make sure that today, this is the last day. You should have all of your colors in here. If you don't, you need to go backwards and re-watch any videos that you've missed and get those notes added to